Hi, everyone. It's Nikki Deloach. I am an actor, writer, producer, and you're listening to It's Technically Romance.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
We're great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're both such huge fans.
Big fan.
Are you?
We really
oh my
are.
gosh.
But yeah, we've been wanting to have you on the podcast. We talk all about Hallmark movies. We've done quite a few interviews of people that have worked with you. So I feel like we're always talking about you on the podcast.
Who have you guys spoken to?
We've had writers Schwa Botkin and Sarah Montana.
She's great. Sarah Montana. Oh my God.
We've had Angela.
Those are our two best. Those are two of our best.
We agree. We absolutely love their movies. Fantastic.
Yeah. 100%. Sarah Montana is like, I don't even know. She's like God just like made her out of like the most perfect stardust ever imaginable. Joie, I've never met in real life. Only I've gotten to be on the receiving end of her talent by acting in scripts that she's done. And I can't even tell you the joy and also relief it brings when you see like her name on the front of a script, because you know the time and the effort and the character development and the story development that she's put into something. So there's not a lot of reworking that I have to do. Mm-hmm. And Sarah Montana, I actually was able to do 2 of her movies and also work with her in Love to the Rescue as an actor. So we actually got to spend an entire shoot together almost. It was like almost the whole shoot. And that woman, I just, there's not enough words. I met her and I was like, oh, you have been my sister in another lifetime. Like, I don't know how to explain it except for there was just this instant like chemistry and connection. And I also think because of, you know, the stuff that she's been through in her life and what I've been through in my life, and I'm not comparing them, but when you've experienced quite a bit of trauma, you see that in another person, that they've already kind of like weathered these like really giant storms that change your life forever. Mm-hmm. And it's an instant connection when you meet someone who has gone through that, because you get to just go deep so fast. And most people are like, yeah, I don't want to be talking about death like 5 minutes into meeting you. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're not the person. But Sarah's like the person. Like I can go deep with her so fast. And it's just, she's a remarkable human.
She really is. I mean, we had a great time speaking with both of them and their characters too. I mean, they both kind of talked about how they would have entire backstories for these characters. Like they would know every little detail, you know, from birth to death. Like, and I was like, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, and that's how I work. So you can imagine, well, and also how I write as well. I started, when I really actually got like the first actual acting technique in my life. Before it was all substitution and feeling and all of this stuff was when I was in my late 20s and I went to Warner Laughlin Studios. And Warner Laughlin Studios, the technique that she uses is, it's like the first half is all analytical, and we really are trying to honor the script and pull like every ounce of information from it, like every who, what, when, where, like what are the facts of this. And then the second part of her technique is flipping over into imagination and building an entire life and a biography essentially for this character, down to like, and then you flip into your imagination and you imagine all of these moments of a character's life and you say them out loud. And it's like, it sounds really kind of maybe woo woo, and also like to people who are not like artists, like you do what? But yeah, so like I would live out the moment of like, I'm 5 years old and I'm in my bedroom and the carpet is super thick and it's this really ugly shade of blue. And it kind of makes everything so playful as an actor. Like before, if you're using like substitution, you just have such a finite well from which to draw because you've only lived certain experiences in your life. But if you are working in the world of imagination with a foundation of facts that your character has given you, that the writer has given you, then you get to live in this world of infinity where where you can play in a really giant sandbox. And then you get these moments of like, you don't have to chase emotion. It's just there. You know, you don't have to like think of your like grandfather that passed to cry. You know, all the life is just there. And that's how Sarah writes, and that's how Joao writes. And so when you, as an actor, that's how I now write, using kind of like that same background. But when you receive a script like theirs, you can feel how thoughtful it is. You can feel the effort that was put into it. And for me, you know, I'm so appreciative of it. And it's like the writer is everything. The writer is like, you know, writers and directors, I feel in any situation, especially film, film's a director's medium, but like it starts with a really good script. If you don't have that script, then you're chasing your tail the whole time.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast, is to really shine a light on the technical aspects as well, the writing, the directing, the DPs, costuming, everything that goes into a film, because it's so much there. And we really wanted to kind of bring that to light and honor those people, because they work hard. They work extremely hard to make these happen too.
Extremely hard, and especially when they do it well. And I think we just jumped right into it, didn't we? I think well, because you're talking about something I could talk about all day long. Like,
well, you can too. Like, I mean, that's the thing, right?
But like, if you want to talk about, like, there's certain aspects of interviews that people ask, and you're just grateful that anybody's interested in talking to you. That's really nice. But like, you're talking about subjects that I could sit and literally talk to people for hours about, because I'm such a nerd. But like, and I love nerds. And so like, people who nerd out or geek out on certain things because they see the worth and they see the effort and they see everything put into it. Like, I just feel like one of the mistakes in the world of Hallmark especially, but I would say that it's rom-com in general, right? There was a reason why Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks were so brilliant, like why people would see them in these romantic comedies and they just wanted them again and again and again and again. It's not easy if you're doing it right. Yep. It's not easy to write it if you're doing it right. It's not easy to act it if you're doing it right. And I think people think because it's Hallmark or it's a rom-com that it's really simple and it's easy. And it's like, you know, whatever, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, you know, they have some fun and games and, you know, go on a second act adventure, and then they almost break up, and then, but they don't get back together, and that's it. But it's like, it's not. And so for me, you know, I work as an actor. If I'm getting hired for Hallmark, I work like so hard with an acting coach before every single job. We pour through every single page, and we're like, okay, this moment feels real, could tilt to the cheese so hard. So like, what are we going to do to ground this moment and to not allow it to tip over into that world, you know, and to actually make this like a real moment in time. And I care a lot about it. I care a lot about it on set. I care a lot about it with the other actors. I mean, I'm sure if you interviewed Andrew, he's probably told you like, that I'll challenge him and I'll push him, because I demand a lot of myself. And also I think the fact that we even get to do what we love to do for a living is a real privilege. Yeah. And everybody should be taking it seriously. Not heart surgery seriously, but you should do your work.
Yeah. No,
that's
go ahead. Please.
No, I mean, that's why you're one of the greats. You're one of our favorites, because we know, you know, how hard you work, and it shows, and we really appreciate it.
It really does. I mean, the range and depth that you bring to these characters is remarkable. I mean, it seems like you can do
you.
it all. You have the funny moments, you have these very intimate, personal moments that you're immediately able to connect with. Like, just it's fantastic. And when you said you work with an acting coach for every script, I think that really shows through. I think that is all the difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I have an audition to put myself on tape for today, and I just got off with my acting coach. So, I mean, it's, if I'm going to take the time to do it, I want to do it really well. I'm not very good at like phoning something in. And in those moments where I've been forced to do that, maybe like didn't have the time to, it just doesn't, the work that you did, and when it's good and when it's not.
Yeah.
And I would rather pass on an audition that I know I'm not going to have time for than to give, a half-hearted, thrown together tape to casting directors and waste their time. I don't want and also for some of them, it's like it might not be your job, right? It might not be meant for you, but if you do a great job, that casting director is going to keep calling you back in.
Right.
So respect them enough to give it all that you can. And it's kind of how I feel about audiences as well. Like, they're sitting down and giving you 90 minutes of their life that they cannot take back. Right.
Wow.
So
I've never thought of it like that before. You're absolutely right.
Well, I told you, Hamilton, I go deep. Okay. When bad things happen in your life, you really think about this stuff. I really think like, you're giving me an hour and a half of your life. I'm going to give you the best that I have to offer in this moment, because that's what you deserve. And I wouldn't have a job if you didn't tune in. So thank you.
You're welcome. We do have to talk about your latest movie.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Curious Caterer, Dying for Chocolate on Hallmark's Movies and Mysteries channel. And we had spoken to Andrew about how he said that you're kind of witchy, and like in a way that you like just sort of like manifest these things. So he said that you had kind of like told him that you wanted to do a mystery will with him. Yeah. And so I was just curious, like, what was it about this mystery? Like, what was it about this script that pulled you in, that you were like, this is the one I want us to do?
Well, number one, I mean, I've worked for the network for a really long time, and I've been working on developing one that also got greenlit.
Congratulations.
But it's more of thank you. It's more of a drama instead of a mystery. And also the development process, sometimes it could take a really long time. And also at the end of the day, you just still don't know if it's going to get made. You can develop something for years. I mean, Curious Caterer has been in development since 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when these things come along, like, you don't want to say no, truly, and also, to be honest, the script was really good. They did a really good job, the writers and our Hallmark executive, Heather Overton. I did not put together who the whodunit was until literally the very end of the script, which is unusual. Normally I can kind of, especially as a writer, I can be like, oh, I see what they did here. I see what they set up. Did not clock any of that. I think it was Aaron Dobson and John Christopher Plummer. And I believe I'm getting those right. Please,
yes,
Jesus, forgive me if not. And I don't mean that. I very much know their names. It's just like, we got back from Easter weekend last night, and it was like a whole whirlwind of a weekend with the kids. And so the script was really good. It was me and Andrew. It was one of my favorite Hallmark executives, Heather, and Brett, who's awesome. And so it was kind of a too good to be true kind of moment, in the sense that, oh, this is very strange. I've literally been developing something for me and Andrew to do for the network on the Movies and Mysteries channel. This comes along, and not only is it with him, It's a really fun script, and it's also with my, one of my favorite executives. So I felt like it was kind of a no-brainer in terms of saying yes to it. And so did Andrew. And we just kind of were like, look, let's just give it all that we've got and do the best. I mean, like, if you think it's hard to do a rom-com in 15 days, try a mystery. That was bananas. I mean, like, I was like, holy moly. Like, it's hard to make a movie in 15 days period,
Yes.
but like, all the other different little things that you have to do inside of a mystery, because there's the layer of suspense, there's the layer, like, there's so many different inserts that you have to get, which you do in Christmas movies especially too, but it's so much more here. And also I like movement in scenes. I am not a put me on my mark, and I don't love this. I mean, I have done it in the past, but like, I'm more vocal about it now, because I can definitely see that it makes the movie better when there's a movement. And I've gotten to work with, directors like Linda Lisa Hayter. We've worked together twice now, who's one of my favorites, who also likes movement, primary, secondary focus. Like, nobody usually just like sits in front of each other and talks, right? There's usually food or coffee, or you're doing something, you're trying to work while somebody's having a conversation with you, you're putting your makeup on, you're doing something. And there's choreography. Some person goes there, then you switch paces, then you put the tea on, and then like, that's life. And what happens sometimes in these movies, because you only have 15 days, is you have situations where a director's like, okay, you're standing here, you're standing here, now action, and then that's just the scene. It's a camera here, couple takes, we do wide, we come in closer, right, we do close up, out of the scene. And that's how they keep on track. However, it's boring to watch, in my opinion.
Yes.
So, we went into this especially because it's like, it needs to move, it needs to have a pace to it, there needs to be, so we need to try to find as much movement as possible, which made our days like longer, 16, 17-hour days. But those were just some of the things that going into this, like, not just as actors, we're going to do our work, we're going to prep, we're going to make sure that we're giving it our best, but also let's talk to the director, let's have these conversations ahead of time. What is his plan? What is his vision? He's a first-time director. These are, which he ended up being fantastic. But like, first-time directors can be, you don't know what you're getting. There's nothing to look at that they've done before for you to go, oh, I have to watch out for this. Oh, he might do that, so maybe I should. You're kind of like walking in blind. So luckily we had Tony, who came from the world. He was a director of photography. He's directed been a director of photography for so many movies, and he loves motion and movement and choreography and all of that stuff. So we were able to implement a lot of that. I think that they had fun with the music. They made it a little bit different. So those were the things we were trying to do coming into it to also make it stand out a little bit.
I think it did stand out. I mean, I loved, some of my favorite scenes were with Andrew and you during the interrogation, when he's over at your house and you're there, you're cutting the carrots. And I have to say, bravo on using the proper chef cutting technique. I saw that little detail.
Well, I was very lucky. Thank you. Because our producer, we had this conversation ahead of time, and he was like, do you actually know? I said, listen, this is the one thing that you're going to need to, because I don't want to be going up in there with like some crazy knife skills and people are watching going like, what is that woman doing on the other side of that camera? She is not a chef. She does not know how to chop a carrot. And Michael was like, don't worry. He's basically a chef. Like, he didn't go to school for it, but he can cook anything. He is a foodie. He is got crazy knife skills. He's the real deal in a kitchen. Nice. And so I had him to kind of show me like how to do all the things. And it was so helpful. Even rolling the basil, to cut the basil, yep. The way that, like, all of that. And also the book series, it's got so much food in it. I didn't want to be disrespectful to the people who are really just tuning in because they love the books.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really good in the kitchen, so he notices those details.
I was like, pause it.
Thanks,
Let's see those hands. What's going on?
Thank you.
What was your favorite part about playing Goldie, and what do you think was the most challenging for you? I mean, she's such a great character.
She's so fun. Her curiosity. I have been a curious child, a curious human my whole life. And whenever I was younger, growing up in the South, it got me into a lot of trouble, obviously, because it wasn't encouraged to question people, especially adults. Now, it's so great because I have an 8-year-old who's the most curious kid ever. And it's so fun because I was able to embrace my own curiosity, even though whenever I was younger, it wasn't loved. And I think it's the thing that has helped me to like do a lot of different things in my life, like not just stay in the zone of an actor, but to be like, well, I'm curious about like, writing. I'm curious about producing. It also, I think curiosity checks your ego constantly. Because if you're constantly asking questions and for example, we live in a very crazy political climate right now. And instead of just shutting somebody down and being like, you're absolutely wrong, like go jump off a cliff, whatever. Why don't you just say like, oh, that's really interesting. I've never thought of it that way. What made you come to that, decision or that kind of understanding about the issue, and just get a little bit more curious about why somebody feels the way that they do. You're never going to get anywhere if you don't ask, if you're not seeking to know. I think it's, was the thing that made me, after the first season of Awkward, go and intern at a production company because I wanted to learn about the business of production. I knew creatively what happens on set. I grew up on set, lived on sets. I could run a set, but I don't know the business of production. So the thing about Goldie that I just loved from the start is just her curiosity, how curious she is about everything. And also the thing that I have in common with her is like it's that whole saying of like, when with a dog with a bone, like the dog's not going to let it go till it chews every single piece of that bone and gets it all. I'm a little the same way. If I have an instinct about something, or if my gut tells me, my witchiness, as Andrew would say, because it's true, it is true. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I've been this way my whole life, but like, I just will know things. I will hear things. I will feel things. I will know them beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I will do everything. I will not stop until I have proven the thing that I believe to be true. It's really served me as an advocate, whether that's, social justice work, or especially in the healthcare industry where, my son has had 3 heart surgeries. My dad was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of dementia that started in his 50s. So we've had a lot of health stuff. We've had a lot of medical stuff that we've had to deal with in our family. And I learned very fast how to be an advocate, but I realized I was really good at it. Mostly because I am going to just keep asking those questions until I get an answer. And I will keep asking why and how and when and all of that stuff until I feel like, okay, I've got, the questions answered that need to be answered in order for me to feel comfortable with this. Let's move forward. And I think, so Goldie just has that in spades. And the other thing I love about her is like, she's kind of a friend to all. She's in this small town. She doesn't really love gossip. She's kind of more of everybody's doing the best that they can kind of, that's the lens through which she sees the world for the most part. And I love that because she's trying to assume the best of people. And she's not getting, in the mix in terms of the gossip. And I love that. I've never been a really big fan of that. And so we're actually a lot alike, except for, I'm not a chef. And I can absolutely see myself like getting in a pickle. And I mean, there was when I was working at the production company, there was a story that I was chasing, and it was a very dangerous story. And at one point in time, that I wanted us to get the rights to.
Right.
And actually, another really famous actor ended up sweeping the rights up like underneath us. But I was literally willing to like get on a plane and fly into this very dangerous situation to sit down with this very dangerous person in prison and say, hey, so here's the deal. I'm so sorry that you're in prison. That like really sucks. See, we have a story, it's your story, and we'd really like to do it. And here is why I think you would really want to do it with us. You know, I'm that kind of person where I would just put myself in a dangerous situation if I thought like, yes, right. And Goldie's that person. She's like breaking into her friend's house.
That part right there blew my mind. When she went over there, I was like, what are you doing? This is crazy. This is
like
crazy.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I would do it in a heartbeat. Would not even think twice about it. I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat. And so I appreciate that about her. She's super fun. I think the most challenging thing about this role is the fact that when you're dealing with, like, you know, obviously there's a lot of drama, but you have to add levity, right? Because of the tone. It's like there's supposed to be this banter and there's supposed to be humor and all of this, and there needs to be, right? Nobody wants to like sit in that, especially on Hallmark. You're not tuning in for that. There's a specific tone to these movies, and I think it's like, you know, the challenging part was making sure that we didn't tip into the romance or tip into a feeling that wasn't real, and fall kind of into the trap of making a typical Hallmark movie. And what I mean by that is like making sure we stay in the tone, but also make sure that we're actually grounding this. Like, it was important for me finding out that my friend had just gone over the side of a cliff for that to be emotional. If it's not emotional, then the audience is not going to go on this journey with me, number one, because they're not going to believe that I'm invested, right? So that's number one. And on the night, I mean, you can't tell, like, I was actually, they pulled a lot of the emotion. They edited it to pull a lot of the emotion out of the scene, which I don't love, but that's not my choice. Because I feel like the audience can handle seeing tears, guys. They can actually handle, you don't have to like edit my tears off my face. But we're getting there, right? Baby steps, baby steps about what our audience can handle. But like, it has to feel really real. And then there has to be a slow progression. We have to really clock these moments, because it can't all of a sudden feel like we're on a second act adventure. Now we're going to find the bad guy.
Yep.
We have to ease our way into that, you know, and that's when, you have to trust your partner. You really have to be having those conversations, because you don't shoot in order. So it's like, okay, where did we just come from? How did we end that? How are we coming into the next part? What are we feeling? What are you feeling? What am I feeling? Let's like really sit down and have a conversation. Let's be mindful about that. The other thing I ask for before every single shoot, which might be very annoying to some people, but I don't care. I asked for a read through. So we could sit down and hear everything. You know, you don't normally get those in these because they move so fast. And but I asked for a read through. We all sit down, we read the script through, we hear it for the first time, because when you read something, and I fall into this as a writer, sometimes when I read it on the page, it's perfect.
Yep.
But then when I say it out loud, I'm like, that's not how actual humans talk.
Right.
You always got to read that line out. You got to read that line out. See how it sits.
100%. So, you know, that's where Andrew and I have to come in and like really do our work. And that was the most challenging thing, I think, about the whole thing.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that you guys do these scenes out of order. And so making sure that the emotion is, that must be extremely challenging. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're tools. Like, you know, they're tools for if you go to acting class, if you have a really good teacher, they're going to be teaching you these tools of like, where did you come from? Where was the scene right before this? And this is when Warner's technique especially serves me, because I can close my eyes and I can go back to that moment and I flash on all the, like the most important moments from that scene. Oh yes, he touched me on my hand. What did that feel like? I walked out of the room, leaving feeling this way. Let me get that back into my body so that I can enter the room into this next scene, carrying that with me. So those are all like, right? That's so fun. But like, I didn't come up with that. My teacher did.
But it's amazing that you can get there.
But you do that. I mean, they came up, but you do that now. That's what's so incredible. Like the idea of that is just almost so foreign to me. To put myself in that space is just unbelievable.
Well, it's fun. It's what makes it so fun. It's going back into that like world of play. We're playing pretend for a living. And so for me, it's like, I just geek out on that stuff. I'm so lucky that I found Warner and her technique, because I don't know if I would be still having as much fun with this as I am now had I not found her technique.
We had some fan questions for Andrew, and there was one that I thought would be great to ask you also, which is having to do with the movie. If there are, which we assume there are going to be some more Curious Caterers, we hope. What are you most looking forward to exploring with that character and in the future movies?
Well, I'm really curious to, again.
I see what you did there. We see what you did there.
I'm really curious actually to see her, like, so there was this moment, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because it's the moment they begin to sleuth together, actually. And it's in the office where she's at the party and she's kind of sneaking into the office and his hand comes around her, her face. For those of you who have not watched, spoiler, it's Andrew's hand. And then they kind of like sleuth together for a second and then they go their separate ways. Up until then, he's still very resistant of her. And there's like this turn in the police department office where he starts to kind of go, okay, I might need her. Yeah. And then they begin like that, I think that having fun, like sleuthing together would be really fun to explore. I'm just talking like physical adventure, right? Physical adventure stuff is getting myself in more trouble. Maybe actually really doing one of these where it actually really seems like I am the suspect and he has to turn that lens onto me. Oh. That would be really fun to play with. That would be really fun, right? Because especially if you get like a couple of these deep and you have feelings for each other, then what does he do with that? What do I do with that? That would be really fun. I also think playing the love, because these are two characters in the book that do end up getting married. Like over the course of however many movies, how does that unfold? Because I think while the Hallmark audience loves Andrew and I to be together, they really like us to be together and also kissing. So it's like
we do.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Like getting to that part of it, for the audience. I think would be really fun for people to watch. And I also just think the girl who played my daughter in this that was her second movie that she's ever done.
Seriously.
And some of her stuff, like, yeah. And there was little parts of it that were cut out just for time, not because of her, but like the movie was way over. So we had to cut a lot out. And I would love to do more stuff that involved her, because I think that, I don't know, when you see a young kid that's just like very naturally gifted, and how that is like they're supernatural on camera. Mm-hmm. Like most kids are performing on camera, and she was just like very naturally dropped into the scene as if, she was my daughter going to school with her treats, like on her, field trip. And so when you see that, like if it was me and I was the writer, I would want to write for that. I'd be like, that person has talent. That's really interesting. I want to write something in that world. So I would like to see like digging more into the mother-daughter of it all, more into even Goldie's past marriage, like in a personal way. And because I mean, we were lucky enough to get Lachlan Monroe. We were lucky enough to get Lachlan. I mean, I still can't, I mean, he's on like 40 shows right now. So how we got him, I have no idea. But when you get Lachlan Monroe, you use him, you utilize a character like that. So those are some of the things that I would really look forward to doing.
We hope that happens. I mean, we love this one. This was our first mystery one. We're big mystery fans. Yeah. We didn't know who it was either. We're huge mystery fans. We didn't know who it was until he asked for your apron. When that apron, I was like, there it is. That's the thing.
Right?
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. I'm certain. Yes. But up until then, it was like that person.
That's exactly right. My husband, who's really smart, he's a lawyer, a very good lawyer. And the only one he had not pointed his finger to was the doctor. Yep. Up until that moment, and he was like, oh my God, it's the doctor. But like, he didn't know either. And I was like, yay, oh, that's great. We did it.
Well, our dog is going crazy, so perfect timing.
By the way, you caught me, my dog's not here. We went out of town, so he's coming. He stayed at a friend's house, so he'll be here in 2 seconds, or else you would be hearing him too. And if my kids were here, that would have been a whole the situation. So
she's young.
I understand.
Like, she's 7 months, so she's starting to get used to things. But we'll go check on her. But we just wanted to thank you so much for your time. Again, we're such huge fans. This really means the world to us.
This was such a pleasure for us.
So.
Thank you guys so much for having me and for talking about the movie and for just being so supportive. We really appreciate it.
We really appreciate you putting so much time and effort into these roles. Like we see it, we all see the work. So thank you.
Man, what a pleasure this was. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Perfect way to spend a morning.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you too.